Hello, I'm Cathy Leslie, the Chief Executive Officer at Engineers Without Borders USA. I've been around the organization a long time, since 2003, so it's fun to be here to talk to you today.
I'm Nicole Trenchard, and I'm the student representative on the EWB-USA Board of Directors. I've been involved in the organization for about 4 years now, and I'm really excited to talk to Cathy about EWB 2.0.
So, what's EWB 2.0, you might ask? Well, EWB 2.0 is exactly what it sounds like. It's the next iteration of Engineers Without Borders USA. We've learned a lot in the past, and we're going to put that into the practice moving forward. We're going to focus on programs in certain regions through country offices, and we developed a methodology to pick those country offices. We're going to provide many more online resources and educational tools for our members to actually do the work of EWB, and we're going to look at our monitoring and evaluation system. We've tuned it up in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goals put out by the UN, and we're going to report our impact as an organization in accordance with the SDG formats. And I think for the chapters, maybe a little bit of excitement around organizational fundraising, where HQ is going to take the onus of the fundraising, with the chapters now being able to focus on what they're meant to focus on, the design and the impact in the community. So Nicole, as the student rep on the board, how do you feel about the direction that EWB 2.0 is taking us to?
I am really enthusiastic about EWB 2.0. I see it as a very comprehensive plan to better support volunteers with educational support, with volunteer village resources, so that we can make sure that not only is each project effective, but across the board, Engineers Without Borders is more effective. So I'm really excited about broadening our impact and impacting more communities in a more meaningful way. I think EWB 2.0 is going to be great, both for chapters and for our partner communities. So Cathy, can you tell us a little bit more about EWB-USA's cost-sharing fundraising plan?
Sure. We took a few months with the reconvened Financial Sustainability Committee to figure out the cost-sharing model. And although we don't have 100% of those details figured out, what we do know is that HQ will provide 40 to 60% of the costs for the projects once we amass $10 million in our bank to actually move to the new cost-sharing model. Over time, we hope that gets to 75%. But for now, we have to start at 40 to 60 since we're just at the start of the whole process. Pretty exciting because a volunteer committee, as well as staff, and as well as some board members, came up with a new cost-sharing model that we felt was good for the organization and good for the individual parts of the organization.
This is a great opportunity for student chapters and professional chapters to focus more on the design and implementation and be freed up a little bit from fundraising. I think this is great news.
Absolutely, and that's what it was meant to do. It was meant to focus our volunteers on the things that they're good at, the design, the implementation. It was also meant to, quite frankly, speed up the projects because fundraising is hard. It's hard for professionals. We were asking our chapters to take on that burden alone. So as an organization, it's another evolution in where we're going. So Nicole, what did you think about the process or the plan that we went through to come up with the recommendation of the cost-sharing model?
I was really impressed by this process because it really did a good job of bringing in all of the stakeholders. So EWB-USA hired a consultant to help explore the solution space, and then we included staff members, we had focus groups with student and professional chapters, the board of directors was involved, and I think we had a lot of great inputs from both sides of the chapters that this will affect and EWB-USA. So it's going to be a really sustainable solution, both for the organization as a whole and for each individual chapter. I was really excited by it. A key component of EWB-USA 2.0 is the update and approach to global programming. Can you talk a little bit about where we are today with global programming?
We are in the middle of our annual update. Actually, we've just finished it, of our global programming. And global programming looks at where EWB is going to work and why. And through a series of indexes put out by the United Nations, we look at if places are safe and secure to work. We look at their economy to see if it's gotten better or worse. We look if they've had a natural disaster and need assistance or not. So throughout that whole process, we look at each country and we score them, as you know, into 4 tiers. This year, Tier 4 stayed exactly the same as what we had it before. Tier 3 had a couple modifications, but in general, it stays Tier 3, where we're not closing out anything. We're just looking at our NGO partners a little bit better to make sure that they are good partners and they're not going to leave before we're ready to leave. Tier 1 is where we have country offices, so Nicaragua, Guatemala, and our latest Uganda. And then Tier 2 is where we may go, or those countries that really need additional assistance. So right now, as you know, Nicaragua just moved from a high-risk country down to a medium-risk country. We're really excited to get our chapters back into Nicaragua in the short-term future.
That's great. So global programming is really helping chapters have the best and most effective impact in the communities that they can collaborate with most effectively.
And it also puts the services where the services are needed in the world in countries that have no other alternative other than aid agencies. Mm-hmm. So we're really making sure that where we're going is really what's needed in the world. In addition to that, specifically the Tier 1 and some of the Tier 2 countries, we're looking at putting staff in countries so we can focus deep and on a regional basis in those countries so that our communities get better support, our volunteers actually have staff support as they move in and out of those countries.
And that field-based approach is really going to help volunteers implement and assess and monitor really with a lot of helpful support. I think this will be a great resource for chapters.
It is, and in addition to that, if we have staff in those countries, we typically have much better relationships with the governments, with the mayors, with the regional country type of governance. So it is much easier to work where we have staff, and it's much easier to be able to predict the outcomes in those countries. We're really excited to get our chapters back into Nicaragua in the short-term future. Well, thanks for talking with me, Nicole. It's always a great time to have a moment with you to chat. And today, it's an exciting time for Engineers Without Borders USA. There will be more resources for our volunteers to do a great job in their communities. We're focusing deeper for more impact, and we have enthusiastic staff that are there to support you all the way along. Stay tuned to our member news for more updates in the future.